Welcome to Pursuit 365's Home and Lifestyle Show, your go to destination for all things related to creating beautiful, harmonious, and inspired homes and lifestyles. I'm your host, Cara Lawson, an award winning South Surrey interior designer, and I'm thrilled to be your guide on this journey of exploration and inspiration. I would like to welcome our special guest and one of my sons, Graydon Lawson. Graydon grew a community on Instagram of over 350,000 followers, teaching to live more sustainable through easy, actionable tips. He also launched an online zero waste store for that community offering sustainable products. Graydon earned awards through his hard work and effort, which included Surrey's Top 25 Under 25, Surrey Community Leader, and RCBC Youth Achievement, all in 2021. After graduating with a degree in economics and a minor in marketing, Graydon is now working for a tech startup company that makes composting effortless, carrying on his passion for sustainability. Graydon, welcome and happy St. Patty's Day. How are you?
Fantastic. Thank you. What an introduction.
Can you share with us the story behind your Instagram account and what inspired you to focus on environmental sustainability?
Yeah, for sure. It was all on accident. I can tell you that. It was at the start, I wanted to start a business, an ecom business. So I started this course. I bought this online course throughout the summer. And I went through all the steps of how to find a niche, how to do market research and get the product and all that. And so I stumbled upon sustainability as a trend of what I thought it was, because I noticed a lot more people were talking about it. There's a lot more development in the space. And so my idea was to get this travel mug company, and it would be four different types of it, four different colors representing four different parts of or four different charities that would be donated to when you bought it. And so I started Reduce Waste Now, the Instagram account, to kind of gather that audience before I even launched, just to gauge interest and to have somebody to market to for free because I didn't have any money after buying that course. Um, and yeah, so I started the Reduce Waste Now, and I started doing a lot more research on how to be more sustainable and started promoting that. And it started getting a little bit more traction. And eventually, right before I was about to place my order for the products and launch a store, I just had the gut feeling of like this isn't right. Like I don't want to be doing this right now. It didn't feel right. And so I took a pause on that and I just started posting on Reduce Waste Now because I had fun doing it. And I found it pretty interesting because I was learning that there is um, some pretty serious environmental impacts going on, and the landfill waste building up and plastic in the ocean. I was learning about all this stuff. So I was like, wow, that is terrifying and interesting. How can I help? And so that's when I started doing that. And I started getting a little bit more traction. People were engaging with the posts. And yeah, and eventually just started the blog posts, getting the newsletter subscribers, and just in any way possible, just try to help people live a more sustainable life as an individual, and try to empower them instead of just giving it to, oh no, only the companies can like really help the environment by like stop polluting it. But I wanted to kind of empower individual people with that. So that's how it started.
That's so awesome. That's what a great response. Um, the second question is, what are some key principles or values that guided your approach to sustainable living, and how do you incorporate them into your everyday life now?
Well, one of the big things when I first started learning about the environmental impacts was the plastic in the ocean, and plastic building up the landfills, and just how long. Well, it doesn't really go away. It takes many, many years, hundreds of years. So I really wanted to, um, or I guess one of my principles would be just to avoid plastic when you can. So if there's a plastic-free alternative at the store, for example, like if you buy the mushrooms in like the little plastic container, but there's the bulk bin right next to it, I'll just go for the bulk bin of the mushrooms and do that. Another big one is just composting. And just when you have your food scraps at the end for the dinner, you just toss in the compost because if it goes to the landfill, it doesn't decompose properly and it emits a methane gas into the atmosphere, just accelerating climate change as one of those greenhouse gases. So,
Wow,
yeah,
that's
composting would definitely be the other one.
that's terrifying.
Mhm.
In what ways did you use your Instagram platform to educate and inspire others to adopt a more eco-friendly practice?
Well, it goes right into just kind of empowering the individuals too, because I notice a lot of people. Actually, we'll take a step back. A lot of the other accounts when I started at the time were more kind of like fear mongering and making people feel bad and guilty for like not being a hardcore environmentalist and not doing like sacrificing their entire life just for that. And so I wanted to give like really, really actionable tips, something that they could easily understand, easily implement. And start doing that day if they wanted to. And one of the tricks was giving kind of instant gratification with it as well. So if they started implementing one of these tips, they'd see results really fast, and that'd keep them coming back for more and more tips.
That's great. So this question, you've talked about what you do to with the mushroom containers and that sort of thing. But what are some simple yet impactful changes that an individual can make in their daily routine to reduce the environmental footprint, other than what
That's a
you?
really good question. Yeah. Well, I hate to repeat it, but compost is probably one of the bigger ones. But the second biggest thing you could do is just cut down on beef consumption, which a lot of people, that's kind of hard. I love a steak, so I can't get rid of it fully. But just if you have it every single day, the amount of water and resources that goes into cattle production is just insane. And the amount of greenhouse gases that is caused from that is really, really significant. So if you can just cut it down, like if you have it every day, like maybe try just a little bit less and less and try to find like other alternatives. Like if you just have chicken or pork instead, um, then it'll be significantly less. So I would say that compost and a little less beef.
Interesting. How do you stay informed about the latest developments and innovations in the field of sustainable living?
Well, I started with Google is kind of the big one. Google was my best friend. And so, and also when I was running the account for Instagram or the Instagram account, I was in that niche every single day, looking for content and ways to help people be a little bit more sustainable. So on Twitter, that's a really good place. Instagram is a fantastic place. Pinterest, believe it or not, is actually really, really good for that too.
Hmm.
Um, and now there's more podcasts and everything. When I started Reduce Waste Now, there just wasn't a lot of content around this space. But yeah, you can go to Spotify, look at some podcasts for learning how to be more sustainable. Yeah, I'd say social media is probably your best bet for that if you just want really quick and easy actionable tips.
Okay. Can you share some of your favorite eco-friendly products or brands that you've discovered through your journey on Instagram?
Oh yeah. So, well, I got to start off with Sapira. Sapira is like a compost and garbage disposal instead of the food going down the drain into your wastewater treatment plant, which is really resource intensive and actually strains them quite a bit. It separates the liquids, so only liquids go through your plumbing, and then the food ends up in a compost bin under your sink, so you can just put it in your curbside or backyard compost. But without the Sapira plug, I would also say True Earth is another one, and they have laundry detergent strips. So it's not in those plastic jugs that take up a ton of space. It's just like this little container sheet, all like cardboard packaging, all plastic free. And they're really, really effective. And then another cool one, I'll give a bonus here, is Blue Land. And what they do is they have a whole bunch of cleaning products, but instead of like sending and shipping out the cleaning liquid, they give you these little tablets. And the tablets you just put in with water, I believe it is most of the time. I think it's just water. And then you mix it, stir it up, and it's just a full cleaning solution right there for you. And you just use their reusable containers. They do refills, and again, all plastic free too. It's a really cool company.
Wow, that's really interesting. I like that.
Hmm.
And what challenges have you encountered along the way in promoting environmental sustainability on social media, and how did you overcome them?
That's a really good one. There was a lot, especially when first starting out. There was kind of no account that was giving easy tips for everyday people. Like I was saying, like there's some kind of extreme hardcore environmentalists that will just comment on the post and like tear it apart and be like, no, like if you just I don't know, go off grid and live off the land, you'll be so much more sustainable. But that's just not practical. Like it's a lot of the stuff they're saying is just so not practical for like everyday people with jobs and busy lives. And so that was kind of the thing. And I kind of had to figure out how to reach the people that wanted to learn about how to live more sustainably, but not sacrifice their life for it, and actually incorporate it, and start building those habits. Um, because one of my things is that if we want everybody to be a little bit more sustainable, to get a mass habit or like a global habit of being more sustainable, it has to be super easy to incorporate into their lives. And they can't actually be building new habits to adjust to that. It has to be something that is as much effort as what they're already doing. So just a really, really simple alternative. And so it took a while to figure that out. But that's pretty much where that was the turning point for Reduced Waste Now, of when it started growing so fast and ended up getting a lot of attention pretty fast after that.
Wow, that's awesome. I'm learning things about you that I didn't know. You see? How did you balance advocating for sustainability while maintaining an engaging and visually appealing Instagram feed?
Well, that actually, I got pretty lucky because my audience loved a really, um, let's say, less aesthetically pleasing post. I had another word for it, but I don't know what I can say here. Um, so pretty much, the people, or how I did that kind of was make the post and the image itself on Instagram a summary of the tip and make it like so if you just look at the picture and you don't read the description at all, you can fully understand what I'm getting across. And so it's a really clean and simple interface. It's like the biggest post that I did. And I like to say that I started the old me, new me comparison thing because I didn't see it before I did it. But, when I had that, it was pretty much old me uses the first one that I did was old me uses a plastic garbage bag. And then new me uses a reusable garbage bag, which at the time I didn't even know existed. So it was kind of cool to see that. But just having a very, very clear, very simple summary of the whole idea. So if they just looked at your post, just looked at the picture, then they can see what you're getting across and they can implement that. But if they want more details, you go right into the description. I wrote up a little description of like how to actually implement that in detail. So that was my way of doing it. But I'm no graphic designer, but it seemed to do well.
Well, you did really well. It was quick. It was just a quick glance and people understood.
Exactly.
What do you believe social media influencers play in driving positive change towards a more sustainable future?
Oh, that's a really good one too. Actually, just recently I saw one. Kind of a trend going right now on Instagram is for every X amount of followers, I'll do this. And one of the people was doing, I'll pick up trash, like littered trash, for every follower. But after a few days, he was like, "This seems just genuine. It doesn't feel like me. So I'm just gonna pick up all this trash." And that's when he started blowing up because he's showing sorry, to answer your question, is like he's building trust with that. He's showing his human side. It's not just for the camera kind of side. And he's showing who he really is. And I think that's a really, really powerful way because these people who follow these influencers, they gain to trust them and kind of get an insight on their lives and they feel like they know them, kind of like a movie star or something like that. You've seen them all those movies. Um, and so when they see them advocating for more sustainable life or giving tips like that, they one get awareness of why they're doing that, and they'll learn a little bit more about that. And two, the influencers are leading by example, and the people who follow them a lot of the time are kind of look up to them in a way, whether they like it or not. But they resonate and they see a little bit of themselves in that influencer. And so if they see that influencer leading by example, say picking up trash, then they're like, well, okay, well, that's a pretty easy thing that I can do. And if they're just going for a walk and they see litter, they're a little more likely just to pick that up and keep going. So I think it has a
Wow,
really big impact over time.
that's wonderful. Can you share any success story or moments where you felt particularly proud of the impact you've had through your Instagram platform?
Um, yeah, I would say almost like every comment that people said, "I tried this and I love this," is it was pretty cool because it was like, wow, like I kind of put that out there. But I mean, there was the 3 awards that you mentioned at the start, but I didn't really feel anything then, like actually receiving that award because it was the build up. The reward was a recognition of the work that I did, and the work that I did is what I was most proud of. So, um, yeah, yeah, that's a tough one. I'd
That's
say,
You should be really proud of yourself. You did
oh,
really good
thank you.
work.
But when people implement it and tag me, I would say, and like show me like, look what I did. Like I regrew my green onions for the first time, and it's actually so crazy how fast they grow. It is. And yeah, it was just really, really cool seeing people actually implement this and like show others of like, look, like follow this page. I've done so many of these things.
That's so good. How do you handle criticism or skepticism from followers who may not fully understand the importance of sustainable living?
Oh yeah. Um, it kind of makes me a little sympathetic because I realize how much education needs to actually go around of the importance of sustainability, and that is going to take time and a lot of resources. And so for me, I just had to focus on who I was helping and not who was being so negative about it. And luckily, especially on Instagram, the algorithm was pretty good that for the most part, it reached the people that did just want to help the environment and like have super easy ways to do that. But every once in a while, there were those people just not understanding it, like calling it fake and like all that fun stuff. But you know, the people in the comments, they battled it out with those people, and the people who saying climate change or fake, like they were quickly shut down by my followers. So it worked out.
They had your back.
They really did, yeah.
So, what advice would you give to individuals who want to live more sustainable but may not know where to start?
Yeah, that's a really good one, and that's a really important one too. I would say where I started was Google and looking through blogs, and stuff like that. But I would recommend if you want just to start, don't try to implement everything at once and get overwhelmed. Start with 3 things, pick 3 things that you think you can improve on. And you can find these on Google. If you just look up like how to live a little bit more sustainably as an individual, you're going to get so many options. But don't just go crazy and like try to implement them all. Like you might burn out, it might get exhausting. You might think like, okay, like how am I going to build this habit? But you're trying to build like 18 different habits at the same time. Just pick 3 things, and work with them and develop those habits of say like bringing your reusable produce bags to the grocery store, and just start doing that. And once that feels normal to you, you can keep going and just get a little bit better each day.
Great advice. Huge thank you for coming out today, Graydon, and supporting me. It really,
Yeah,
really
of
means a lot
course.
to me.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. And that's a wrap for today's episode of Pursuit 365's Home and Lifestyle Show. I hope you've enjoyed our conversation and found inspiration to create your own beautiful, harmonious, and inspired living spaces and lifestyles. Remember to subscribe for more tips and join us next time for another enriching discussion. This is Cara Lawson signing off. Until next time, keep living beautifully.